New tonight on KGW News, a drowning at a popular lake leaves some first responders frustrated.
I mean, it's a traumatic experience for everybody.
Why they say they couldn't go in to try to save the victim. Plus,
this was a political assassination.
Investigators lay out the startling evidence against a man accused of killing a Minnesota lawmaker and targeting at least 3 others. Then,
it's been constant, like we're seeing red gases, green gases.
A side of the constant immigration protests you haven't seen before, as neighbors living next to Portland's ICE building say they're worried about their safety. And later, the big local winners of the James Beard Awards, including a Portland bakery that took a nationwide crown and a wine country chef named the best in the Northwest. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. We begin tonight with a drowning that has some local firefighters pleading for more training and supplies in the form of a water rescue team, something they've been without in the Camas-Washougal area, they say, despite having a lot of popular swimming and boating spots. Alma McCarty has our top story.
In Southwest Washington, swim season is in full swing.
This is like a spot where like a lot of teens come to jump off the bridge and hang out with friends.
Even on a Monday, visitors flock to this area near Lacamas Lake.
I always go to the middle of the bridge and make sure it's deep enough to jump off.
I'm having the Columbia, the Washougal River, Lacamas Lake, Round Lake, Fallen Leaf Lake, and all of its tributaries. We believe that it's about time.
About time for the Camas-Washougal Fire Department to have a water rescue team, something union leaders say they're currently without.
We legally can't go into the water right now at all. We don't have the capacity to do that.
And last month, Union President Aaron Clyburn says that shortcoming led to tragic results when a young man went under and didn't resurface.
We showed up within minutes of the 911 dispatch, and we were not able to get into the water because of our lack of ability to get into the water, nor did we have an understanding of exactly where the victim was because they were not visible. They were underwater.
Vancouver Fire called in to aid first responders, pulled the man from the water 3 minutes after their arrival. But it was too late.
I mean, it's a traumatic experience for everybody. You know, the family of the victim, the members who had to stand on shore and couldn't do anything.
Now, as the weather warms, firefighters bring their concerns to Camas City Council, proposing long and short-term solutions.
Why would a city with such a prominent, well-used body of water where children, teens, and families spend their summer days not have a rescue team ready to respond?
Local 2444 is looking to coordinate, fund, and install warning signage as well as emergency flotation devices in the immediate vicinity surrounding a frequent swim spot.
With the clear long-term fix, the creation of a water rescue team complete with the proper tools and training.
We understand that it's not an overnight thing. There's time, effort, and money that are going to have to go into it.
And I just spoke with the fire chief about an hour ago to get his take on these requests. He tells me he is in support of the changes, stressing, however, that it does take quite a bit of money and his department is always fighting for resources. Plus, he says because the area has so many different bodies of water, different types of hazards, there's nuance to the training and the equipment needed for each different scenario. David?
Well, at least they've got the conversation going. Appreciate it, Alma.
This tragedy goes beyond anyone's personal grief, least of all mine. Truthfully, I'm also grieving for our democracy, that years of inflammatory rhetoric and political divisiveness have led us to this very dark place.
Tonight, Oregon lawmakers are responding to the shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers. It comes after the ledge here passed a bill to conceal home addresses of elected officials and candidates for public office less than 12 hours before the assassination. Today, the man accused of shooting the 2 lawmakers, 57-year-old Vance Belter, appeared in federal court where he's charged with murder and stalking. Maggie Vespa has the latest.
Images show the tools prosecutors say Vance Belter used in the deadly rampage he planned for months. Firearms, ammo, a hyper-realistic silicone mask, and notebooks filled with scribbled notes and lists of targets, including many Democrats.
His crimes are the stuff of nightmares. Belter stalked his victims like prey.
And in another disturbing twist, officials today said Belter didn't just target 2 lawmakers that morning.
Belter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them.
Belter was arrested Sunday night after the largest manhunt in Minnesota history.
You saw him in this grass?
Yeah.
Wendy Thomas believes she saw Belter in the hours before his arrest, saying she was leaving a friend's house when she spotted a man in dark clothing crouching in this field. She called her dad, initially thinking it was law enforcement.
And I'm like, oh, they're clearing properties. So that's what I figured it was. And then the more my brain registered, I'm like, Dad, there's only one person. There's no vehicle. And then I started freaking out, and Dad's like, you need to get out of there. You need to call somebody.
Thomas says that's when she waved down police.
So I waved my arms and I flagged him, and he's like, is everything okay? And at this point, I'm shaking. And I said, no, there's a person. I saw a person. And as I was leaving the driveway, you could see him squatting in the culvert, and I started pointing. I'm like, there he is, there he is.
Belter made his first court appearance today. He's facing a litany of charges, including murder. Some of the federal charges could be eligible for the death penalty.
And this was a political assassination.
Today, authorities laying out a detailed timeline of Belter's movements early Saturday morning, saying he first went to the home of Democratic State Senator John Hoffman, arriving in an SUV with a fake police license plate and emergency lights flashing. They say he approached the door shouting, "This is the police."
When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer." Belter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home.
Hoffman's wife revealing they were each shot at least 8 times, adding they're incredibly lucky to be alive. According to court documents, at 2:24, Belter arrived at the home of another state rep, but she wasn't home, so he left. 12 minutes later, he showed up at a third lawmaker's home. A police officer was already there conducting a wellness check. When she approached Belter,
Belter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead.
Belter then drove to the home of State Rep Melissa Hortman. He arrived around 3:30 a.m., according to the documents, with police officers pulling up around the same time.
When Belter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He repeatedly fired into the house. And when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark.
Belter fled on foot. He returned to his home at some point that morning, according to the court documents, and texted his family, "Dad went to war last night." It read, "I don't want to say any more because I don't want to implicate anybody."
Maggie Vespa reporting there. Documents say he later bought an e-bike and a Buick from a stranger. Officials say they found that abandoned car and Belter's cowboy hat along a rural highway on Sunday. That was a major break, one that helped lead to his arrest. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, the suspect in a stabbing spree at a Salem shelter has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of attempted murder and 11 assault charges. A dozen shelter guests and workers were injured during the evening check-in on June 1st, and police arrested 42-year-old Tony Williams the same day. Court records show he has a history of mental health issues and violence. Williams will continue to be held without bail and is scheduled to be back in court next month. In North Portland, a large grass fire is now out. The spark before 7 this evening near the Cintas warehouse on North Columbia. Crews say the fire spread to a wooden storage shed on the warehouse property. The blaze was under control within an hour. No injuries were reported and no word yet on the cause. And also in the St. John's neighborhood, a sinkhole opened up below a garbage truck this morning. This is by Trumbull Avenue near North Pier Park Place. The hole swallowed part of the truck's front tire. Neighbors telling us a similar sinkhole opened up on the same block just 2 years ago. PBOT did not comment on the cause of the latest collapse. Repairs are now underway. Let's give you a live look over downtown Portland on this Monday night after a gorgeous day and another beautiful June weekend, though it turns out a change is in the cards and looks like by the end of the week. Matt Safino's here with the first look at your weather impact forecast. Hey there, Matt.
Hey, David. Yeah, this coming weekend will be the first weekend of summer. It's going to feel more like spring, especially on Saturday. Outside right now with a clear sky, 61 degrees in Portland. It really is a nice night after a beautiful day. Here's the modeling for tomorrow, and we actually get a few showers coming in tomorrow night and Wednesday morning. That'll be light, just some sprinkles or drizzle in the metro area. Thursday looks good, but then on Friday, that's when we see some more significant rain roll our way. And you know what? We could use it. This will be beneficial rain. The last time we had a soaking rain, which we define as rainfall of a 1/4 inch or more in a day, May 17th. So it was a month ago. How many days with soaking rain have we had since the 1st of April? 2. That one, and then back on the 6th of April, we had a little bit less than a half an inch of rain. That's it. The rainfall we had this month so far came on one day. That was 0.18 of an inch, so really not that much. And of course, we are heading into what is on average the driest month of the year, July, with just about a half an inch of rain is all we can expect. So sunny tomorrow, sprinkles Wednesday morning. We'll talk about the rain and the mountain snow coming our way at the end of the week in a bit, David.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Now to a tale of two protests in Portland. On the left, a huge crowd marched as part of nationwide rallies against the Trump administration over the weekend. And while that demonstration remained peaceful on the right, well, a bit of a different story when it came to a much smaller group outside the ICE facility near the South waterfront. And deepening that line between peaceful protests and criminal activity, some of those arrested outside the ICE facility on Saturday are now facing federal charges. Joe Ranieri talked with some neighbors who say the ongoing protests and the response by law enforcement are making them feel unsafe.
It was a different scene outside the ICE facility on Monday morning than what we saw this weekend. Instead of sounds of flashbangs and tear gas, it was replaced by nail guns.
These things happen in Portland quite a bit, I've noticed. So,
talk with residents who've been living with the protests.
Very noisy, very animated. There's a lot of people, a lot of protests during the day, and then at night.
It's just been constant. Like we're seeing red gases, green gases, which when we Googled that was chlorine.
They'll tell you it's been awful, especially over the weekend, where there were multiple rallies, including the No Kings rally that brought 50,000 people to the downtown area. Many of the people who live at Gray's Landing couldn't even leave because the crowds got so large.
We have air conditioning, and we can't put our air conditioning on. It gets so hot in that building because of the tear gas coming in. And
if they could leave, they had nowhere to go.
I don't have a car. This is our only way of getting out of the area. It's that north-south streetcar. And when that tears off down there, they shut it down. So we have no way of getting out of here.
Cindy, who's lived at Gray's Landing for almost a year, says she's not against the fight they have out there.
I don't agree with all the snatching the people off the street by ICE, but, you know, don't make the rest of us suffer for it, you know?
But she wants the people who gather to get their message out in a peaceful way.
I think all this is wrong, but I'm from the generation of Martin Luther King, okay? You protest, but not in violence.
Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
By the way, Joe reached out to the management company for those apartments and said it is working to keep residents safe and to improve that HVAC system so tear gas does not get inside. Meanwhile, Portland police made 4 additional arrests Sunday night, they say, after they observed people throwing objects at the ICE building. This evening, we're learning new information about one of the men recently arrested by ICE in Newburgh. An ICE spokesperson telling us Moises Satello was detained because of a prior DUI conviction in Newburgh. Though when we tried to verify that information with the Yamhill County, the DA's office told us a search of available records found no results for Satello. ICE also says he crossed the border illegally from Mexico in 2006. His family telling us he's been here since the 90s. Satello owns a vineyard services business and was detained last Thursday while on his way to work. His daughter says she has not received an explanation on why her father was detained and adds he'd begun the process of becoming a citizen last year.
We started because everything was playing in our favor, and unfortunately it fell through the Trump administration. Now laws are changing, things are changing, and now we're here.
Well, according to ICE, Satello is being held at the immigration detention facility in Tacoma. We'll certainly update you as we learn more about his case and many, many others. You can find the latest anytime on KGW.com or on the KGW app.